Durante estos filmes todo ha girado alrededor de los personajes de Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson y Rupert Grint, pero ellos no han sido los únicos actores que han crecido con esta saga. Aquí le tenemos nuestra exclusiva con dos jóvenes que han sido parte de la magia desde el principio.
Alright, so obviously all the characters have changed a lot, but your character's growth is humongous. I wondered how difficult it is to sort of communicate that when you only have sort of a short amount of scenes with each film.
Yeah, it was, I mean, obviously Neville does evolve so much, and we want to just, even when he's not too integral in the story, David Yates was very keen to just show that growth, and so in film, you know, in Deathly Hallows Part 1, we had him just on the train, you know, just picking a fight with the Death Eaters, and David just wanted to keep in mind just how Neville is holding the fort back at the school, and it was interesting each year to come back and play the same character, but add a new dimension to it, you know, something just a little bit different. It just kept it fresh for me, really, and so that when we see Part 2, we suddenly become this leader. It was a lot of fun.
Did you ask Daniel any pointers on how to stand down Ray Fiennes, or how was shooting that scene?
No, well, I just figured if I go in there blind and just find out what it's like, then I'll be terrified, so that'll work well. And I was. I mean, Rafe is just absolutely amazing to watch, like, to watch him work. I mean, just the way he becomes that character, and he's just pretty much evil personified, and I mean, for me to be on that set, I mean, every single part of me was shaking. I was nervous, and then all of a sudden when he does his monologue, he's so menacing and got such a presence about him when he's moving around that it just becomes very, very much you and him. It's tunnel vision, and everyone else just sort of melts away, and you're in the moment, and that's a credit to his performance, really, that it just helped me endlessly. Like,
obviously, you've always been an integral part of the series, but I wonder because, and this is something the actors don't control, because the media has sort of fixated on, you know, the main cast. Do you think you've been able to sort of appreciate it in a different way because you've been able to sort of step outside of it, or?
I've been really fortunate, to be honest. I mean, I've had a character who's been there in every film, has got, like you say, an integral role within the series, and yet, you know, I get relatively left alone, and it's great. You know, I get the best of both worlds. I get to be in the film, I get to enjoy all the perks, you know, travel around the world and meet people, and then at the same time I can go back to Leeds where I live. Got my same friends from before. I don't get paparazzi chasing me. It's lovely. I mean, I'm very fortunate in that, and yeah, I wouldn't change that for the world, I don't think.
All right. So obviously when something this huge ends, have you ever been tempted to go back and like sit down and watch the other films?
Oh, no.
Nobody wants to do that.
My parents love it. My parents absolutely. I mean, they've got all their home videos in a DVD shelf. It's great. They can just take them out and stick on Harry Potter 2, and they love it. And I hate it.
Why?
I don't know. I mean, I'm quite a self-conscious person anyway when it comes to acting. I hate watching my stuff back, even as late as this one. I mean, I'll watch this on Thursday and I'll be squirming and uncomfortable in my chair. But those young ones, when you see me, you know, with the chubby cheeks and the high-pitched voice, it's just, no, not for me.
Well. What brings you here, Potter? I could ask you the same. You have something of mine. I'd like it back. Well, what's wrong with the one you have? It's my mother's. It's powerful, but it's not the same. Doesn't quite understand me. Know what I mean?
All right, so now that you sort of have the full aspect of your character and the complete picture,
sure.
What's your take on him? Because he's pretty complicated all the way throughout.
For sure, I'm still kind of undecided, to be honest with you. I think it's nice that it's more or less left to interpretation of the audience or even for me. He's clearly a conflicted child, isn't he? Like, he doesn't quite know where his heart lies or where his loyalties lie. I think he's terrified of Voldemort and what's going to happen to him if he betrays him, I think. So that's the underlining sense of dread is that. But there's definitely something that is edging him towards the the good guys, I think.
There hasn't been a Quidditch sequence in a while.
No.
I just wonder, in that sequence where you guys jump on a broom, and you had to actually, because for us it's a lot of fun, but when you actually have to film it, did you guys go like, not the brooms again? Or what was the reaction to filming that?
A little bit, and let me assure you that one person on a broom is pretty uncomfortable, but two is not only uncomfortable but slightly awkward, because they tie you together, and when you're not filming, you still have to kind of sit there and sort of try and sit so you're not uncomfortable, and it's pretty uncomfortable, to say the least.
So since we don't want to give anything away, but since we're not naming the actor who shares the broom, does that mean that you found stuff up that you hadn't known?
We got very up close and personal. Luckily this guy is a good friend of mine, so it wasn't too bad, but needless to say, we got a few digs from the stunt boys who are watching us down below.
Y otra figura clave de esta saga es el talentoso actor británico Alan Rickman. Y en esta exclusiva él nos revela todos los secretos acerca del profesor Snape.
If anyone here has any knowledge of Mr. Potter's movements this evening, I invite them to step forward. Now. I'm in the same position as everybody else. I would read the books as they came out and think, oh, right, okay. Well, this is what happens now, is it? Fine. But you always knew there was an agenda. It was a question of what was that agenda going to turn out to be. That meant it's somebody who's very concentrated. You know that he lives a solitary kind of existence. You're not quite sure what the details of that are. But, he doesn't have much of a social life. And he's only got one set of clothes, clearly, which last quite well.
Coward! Coward! You didn't even state a fight.
As a drama student or as a schoolboy, I was sitting up in the cheap seats watching Maggie Smith and Michael Gambon at the National Theatre. So to then find yourself working with them and them becoming friends, and of course Michael has the wickedest sense of humour and Maggie is one of the wittiest people alive. I mean, I only regret that I didn't have a tape recorder or a notebook or could do shorthand, because priceless. That's why it's usually me laughing, because you can't compete with those two.